Okay.
Yay!
Right.
It is September, and we are recording Grown Ass Women again. And if you didn't already know, this is my birthday month. Shout out to the Virgos. And we got some Libras that come in September as well, right? So we are so excited to come back with you guys today. And you see that we're wearing our college shirts, right?
Pledge allegiance.
So I want everybody, when you introduce yourself with your name and all the things that matter and your university. And one thing that you took away from being at your university, okay? So I am Dr. LaNail R. Plummer and the CEO of Onyx Therapy Group. I went to Howard University, the Mecca, the real HU. I do love Hampton, but y'all know y'all not the real HU. And this sweater was designed by my LB from Phi Sigma Pi, Rachel Crouch. So if you want one, hit her up, hit me up. Let's do this business. You know what I'm talking about. One of the things that I learned at Howard was to not let my past influence my future, right? When I got on campus, nobody cared about where I came from per se. They were asking questions about what I wanted to do in the future and who I wanted to become. And so when people ask you about yourself, always talk about your trajectory, what you're about to do, right? Even if you're not quite sure of the path, you don't know who to connect with or what the networking is, always talk about your dream as opposed to your limitations.
Okay, you say
All
trajectory.
right? Let's go with Dr. Malone, who is a graduate of Morgan State. Let's go, baby.
Whoop, whoop. My name is Dr. Ayana Malone.
Yes.
What was that title?
Dr. Ayana Malone. And I am repping Morgan State University, where I became said doctor.
Right.
And although I went to 2 other schools before Morgan, I chose to rep Morgan today because I want folks to understand how an HBCU is not segregation, but actually liberation.
Come on, liberation.
Yes.
Come on, liberation. I do want to talk later about the PWI experience versus the HBCU experience.
Yes.
And I think that you and Nick went to PWIs for undergrad, right?
Yes.
And what that meant. So we'll get into that. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, I'm Deana Kennedy, and I am repping St. Augustine's University.
Come on, St. Aug.
St. Aug.
As everybody knows it. What I took from there is the both and mentality.
Okay.
I was the battalion commander of ROTC and a blue chip.
Come on, blue chip. You
Blue
better show us
chip.
the bag.
Collegiate cheerleading team. So I got to wear a uniform and be cute in the other uniform.
Yes.
Giving my shake it, shake it.
Both
it, shake
and
it.
come on, babe. We see you.
Them HBCU cheerleaders, though. Shout out to all of us.
Shout out
out.
to all the
Shout out.
HBCUs.
And
We give
people
it.
that say that like cheerleading isn't an actual
give it.
sport. Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a whole
It is.
BS
Yes,
thing,
it is.
right?
Yes, it is.
Listen, it
giving.
should be in the Olympics,
It's
right?
giving.
Social stripping.
I was a wait.
Facts.
Okay,
Dead ass.
so shit stripping.
Dead
So
ass.
shit
That
stripping.
is
So shit
Facts.
stripping.
Everybody.
I've watched
Yeah.
P-Valley.
Get down in the valley where the girls get naked. You know what? Let's do the introduction.
Yeah, let's,
then.
okay,
Yeah,
I'm
let's
sorry.
do that.
Okay, so
Come on,
I am
Nick.
Nikki, Double divorcee. I had to look into the mic when I said that one. So I am BS, MA, and MBA
Come
from
on.
University of Maryland.
It was
College
at 3
Park.
degrees, baby.
Yes, it was. That
Okay,
would be the
come
degrees.
on. Come on, free.
Okay.
George Mason, which I would not rep. That is CRO, Chief Risk Officer, that
Come
I just
on.
finished. Come on.
Congrats.
So yes, although I will give a shout out to North Carolina Central University for winning the softball champion because
Come
you know
on.
softball is a sport of my heart, and the Celebration Bowl last year. Let's go Eagles!
You know there are rivals. I know.
You would think she had a cue card. It's impressive.
Yeah, it was a whole thing, right? She is ready. Shout out to Love Babe.
Shout out to Love Babe.
Hey, Love Babe. Come on, Central.
Oh, my turn. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Jonai Carr. I'm repping Morgan State University, where I got my undergrad degree, and I am currently a student at University of Maryland getting my
on.
graduate degree.
Go Terps!
But Morgan State, I think that's where I really started thinking about my Blackness.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, our principal was walking around asking everybody what school they were going to, and I wasn't originally going to Morgan State University. That's a different trauma that we could talk about another time.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go to a HBCU because I had always gone to like multicultural schools, and And I was like, I just want to be around Black people. I just want to have that experience because I had heard about it and I wanted that so badly. So no matter where I went, I wanted it to be an HBCU. So I think that's where I really started to tap into what it really means to be Black.
Yeah.
So
I
that's my
forgot that
takeaway.
part, the lessons learned.
Go,
I forgot
Nick,
to
come
add
on.
that. So from the University of Maryland College Park, I would say for me, mainly in undergrad, the lesson learned there was, ironically, as we talked about race a lot on this podcast, is I am, that moment was either not being Black enough and not being white.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what Maryland really gave me a lot of, especially with the.
Whoa, we nodded with that, but I don't think that's our lived experience. Only yours.
No, just mine.
Yeah.
Just amongst this group that we've discussed.
Because nobody questioned not being white. Like it wasn't a question, but not being Black enough. Like we just showed. No.
Well, we can talk about it because it's that PWI experience.
this stuff.
Because don't
PWI,
forget that this is where I got my doctorate, but I went to Virginia Commonwealth University and then I went to American University. Ultra American. Ooh, child. So we can get into that.
I do
We'll
want
keep
to
going.
say that as we
We'll
keep
going.
shouting out these universities, we are looking for sponsorship. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
No, but it's just that experience of, how we show up in a room, especially not from when it was time to take the test, but when it was time for decisions to be made. I'll never forget almost not graduating after going through head trauma, after, fighting to get back, and just finish, right? Changing majors and getting a piece of paper that said, oh, you're not walking. Whoa.
Oh.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about? I've done everything. And I had a peer go through the same thing that wasn't the same race as me. Same exact situation. And I ended up almost having to hire an attorney to tell them that they were wrong.
Wow.
Telling my parents, let me handle it, which was a very big maturity moment where my peer didn't have any of those experiences.
You know what I also take away from that, Nick? Like, we oftentimes think that education is like this beautiful process, right? Like college, undergrad, it's the thing. But for some people, undergrad is traumatic too, right? Like for undergrad, we're like fighting to be seen. We're fighting to get these grades. We're fighting to like graduate. We're fighting, right? And I wonder if that fighting element is just a Black person thing, if it's just a Black woman thing. Like, do white people fight in undergrad? Like, I mean, I don't know any statistics on it, but I wonder what that looks like. And if you had gone to an HBCU, not that HBCUs are like perfect, right? But if you had gone, would the experience have been different?
Yes, I'm curious for Dr. Malone, especially what were study groups like? Like trying to get study groups, especially in your kind of freshman and sophomore years, where you really needed those study groups to be able to like compare notes and trying to find folks that wanted to connect on study groups was challenging.
What I did do some research when I was in my doctoral program about the number of Black doctors that there are in all elements. So like physicians, dentists, PhDs, EDDs, etc. And most of us that are doctors actually had our foundation in HBCUs. I rep Howard, but my doctorate is from a PWI. I don't talk about it much because it was just a matter of circumstance, right? But it is interesting because Ayana and I flip in that way, where I went to a HBCU for undergrad and a PWI for my doctoral program. And she went to a PWI for undergrad and a HBCU for her doctoral program. Side note, if Ayana had not gone to a HBCU for her doctorate, we would have been fighting. Because I was like, you are absolutely going to get an HBCU up on this resume.
Absolutely. And I think it's an interesting dynamic, which goes to what I was saying about the perception of that separation versus something being liberating. Yeah. And the idea that I truly understand any young person who's making the decision between going to a PWI or going to an HBCU and the implications of it. And I don't believe there's any right answer. Let's be very clear. But I do believe you have to choose the experience that is going to be right for you. And understand.
But at 18, do you know what's right for you?
Absolutely not.
Like you just hope
You
that
need you need parents, you need guidance, you need thought partners. I think there are a lot of different factors that a lot of young people don't have to be able to make such a permanent decision. I feel privileged that I got to go to 3 different universities.
Yeah.
Most people in this world are not going to 3 different universities, right? It's a lifelong.
Statistically, most people aren't going to one university.
Exactly, right. And so you're making at a very young age a lifelong decision.
Yeah.
That is hard.
Which
That's
goes
why I
back-
said there's no true right answer.
Which goes
I
back
want
to
be
this
clear.
idea, side note, of how at 18, are you really an adult? Like, how do you
No.
really make lifelong
Nope.
decisions and you've been here 18 years?
Your brain is
right?
not fully developed.
I look at my
at
own
18.
kid who
No.
may or may not be watching. Like, are you grown at 18? Like, do you know the implications of the decisions that you're making? And we all enjoy the schools that we went to, right? Like, that's why we like rep our schools and all that kind of stuff. But a side note is maybe we should change the age of like adulthood. 18, I don't think.
not
Maybe
enough.
if you
It's
want to smoke a
25.
cigarette.
Yeah.
According to the World Health Organization, your brain isn't out of adolescence until you're 24,
25. Yeah,
right?
24.
And so but yet we let 18-year-olds make lifelong decisions. Not that a parent should say, go to this school or go to that
That's because
school.
parents be tired.
Or they don't know. They don't know.
But
I
mine
just
was
made that connection that
environmental.
just me and you, D, our parents had not gone to college.
Well,
We
mine did.
Oh,
but
she
her
did.
choice was to go in the Army. My grandmother took her high school grades and enrolled her in University of Maryland, Baltimore College.
Okay.
With those grades.
Okay.
And I appeared freshman year. I was
Okay.
a dorm baby.
Okay.
And she went to the Army because that's
Yeah.
what she wanted to do. She didn't want to go into college.
Yeah. I think, well, in that case, my parents are the only ones who didn't go to college. I was the first one who was a first generation in college.
Yeah.
Like, which was wild, but that's not what this particular conversation is about. So I did want to ask though, what did you, in terms of HBCU, PWI, when you think about like your kids, the kids that are coming behind you, what are some things that you would say? Listen, whether you went to a HBCU or a PWI, we're not judging. We're just saying like, what are some takeaways? And so consider that for your life as well.
I will definitely say, having gone, I love Virginia Commonwealth University.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You took the kids down there.
I think about it with pride, with just growing up. Like, I have so many positive memories. And I also recognize what I may have missed out on in an undergrad situation at an HBCU.
What is it that you think you missed out on?
Living in the dorm
Okay.
with just other people who were like me, going to eat food with other people like me. Like Nikki said, that level of
Just living
acceptance,
life.
living life of you're different because you're at this PWI. You all at HBCUs didn't have a Black student union. Like, you literally had to actively join a Black student union to be with other people of color.
And did
right?
people judge your Blackness
Absolutely.
in order for you to join the Black Student Union?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I realized the sorority I pledged was part of my proving or displaying of Blackness.
Yeah.
Right? Because, if not, how do you know
And your
you were
sorority
Black
is a
enough?
D9,
Right.
which is associated with Black identity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Versus pledging a different sorority. And I look at young people, young Black people or other minoritized people
Don't
who
say
join.
the sorority because I want to do a poll. Which sorority do you think that Ayana's a part of?
Hint, I was a teacher.
No,
So-
don't say nothing else. It's a poll.
Okay, it was a
Okay.
poll.
Is that an indicator?
Right.
Yes. Don't give any more.
It was started by
okay.
they were all the founders
didn't
are
know
teachers.
that. Sorry.
Okay, all right.
But my reasons, but go ahead, finish. And then, yeah.
Right. And so the idea, I wonder about people of color at PWIs who join white fraternities and sororities, et cetera, because it's just like, it's almost like this double dose of look how different, like the otherizing is incredible.
And naturally, we want to belong.
Of course.
Yeah.
At 18,
Yeah.
like all you want to do is belong.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all you want to do is fit the culture of where you are. And I think it creates very extensive identity crises. And I don't know if you felt the same way, Nikki, but it creates identity crises in so many different ways.
Yeah, my reasons for wishing I would have gone to an HBCU were actually a little different, but it stems from what I had to experience at Maryland graduating. And I did love College Park. Like I had a great time while in school, lived my best life, didn't join anything because I was well into my rebellious stage. Like, you're not going to tell me when to eat. You're not going to tell me when to show up. The fact that I have classes at a certain time was enough for me. But the difference was when I went into corporate America and I saw how my coworkers or colleagues that came from HBCUs, I saw the difference in how they presented themselves versus I always had to
What was
fight.
that difference?
Right. So I had to fight in a classroom and prove my position where they walked in with a sense of empowerment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I belong.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
I belong here.
Yeah.
You need to catch up.
Yeah.
Where I had to convince they were already present.
Yeah.
And it was that. So it wasn't so much about being, because I think naturally at Maryland, I kind of gravitated towards people that were like me. Right. But it was more of that I felt I missed out on, that difference. But that also played into what I had to do to graduate and classes and stuff like that, of that constant fight. So I left college feeling like I still had to constantly fight.
I'll come back. I'm up real quick, right? Oh, shit.
First you wanted it in your first. Like, what's
I actually want that in there. Do not edit it out.
Get in the mic, girl.
So we did this a couple episodes ago, and we had to take a water break, right? Hygiene break, because we're grown ass women, and the things that happen in our body
Hydrate,
don't
bitches.
happen the same in our 20s, right? And when we record this in our 60s, because grown ass women is about to be around, you're gonna see some different things that happen anyway. So Nick,
Still gonna have a
tell us
fan.
what you were talking about with being at Maryland.
All my life.
Oh God.
She had to fight. She had to fight.
No, Maryland was dope, but the difference between Maryland and the HBCU experience, and because of Love Bay, having that intimate.
Love Bay went to a HBCU, right?
Absolutely,
Central.
yeah, he did. Being on campus, going to the events. Oh my goodness, you talk about the cheerleaders. Shout out to the HBCU cheerleaders. And it's because we talked about community in one of our last podcasts, and it's the sense of community. Like, you are just around your people.
Yeah.
And it's a presence. You feel entitled. It's almost a sense of privilege that you don't feel at a PWI, because at PWI you are fighting
Yeah.
to be seen
Yeah.
and be heard and be acknowledged.
Yeah.
And that acknowledgement. Now, that's not to say that that's not an asset later in life that I was able to use in my career, but I also could have used me knowing what it felt like to walk out into the world
Yeah.
already present.
And we talked about that in personal conversations, right? So the beauty of grown ass women is that we make it a podcast, right? But we talk to each other, and we talk about that all the time. We talk to each other every day, right? And you and I had talked about that before in terms of like the confidence and the space that we take up if we go to HBCUs, because we think we're supposed to be there, where sometimes PWIs make you feel like that othered conversation, right? I remember when my daughter, Alyssa, shout out,
Hey, Les.
Hey, who is at A&T, so also in North Carolina. We were having the conversation about where she was going to go to school. And I was like, it's only 4 years where you get to be the majority. When you come out of college, you go back to being a minority. And as a Black woman, you are a double minority, right? So you are marginalized even further. If we think about paper, you're further and further from the margin, right? Go to an HBCU so you can feel what it means to be a majority and feel what it means to not have to question your identity. And so she went to A&T, right? And I'm super excited and proud of her for that. But my question goes into, as you think about the young people that are in your lives, what would you tell them? Do you tell them go to HBCUs? Do you tell them to go to PWIs? And this is especially important now that we're in September, and you remember it was just a couple months ago where the Supreme Court said affirmative action is not a thing anymore, right? And I grew up in affirmative action. And I remember being on the speech and debate team and arguing affirmative action in Hawaii across different racial and ethnic groups around what affirmative action meant. But now that we are no more, we're going to edit that.
I tried to play it off the first time, and then I was like, oh, no.
It's a little thing
It was
in your mouth.
You don't like things in your mouth?
Not ones that fly.
So I remember talking to Alyssa about HBCUs and affirmative action. And I remember being in high school and thinking about affirmative action. So what does that mean going to an HBCU or a PWI right now? Like, what would you tell the youth that's coming behind you? Because we all grew up with affirmative action. And I remember Michelle Obama making a statement before, like, I don't know if I got into Princeton because of affirmative action or not, right? But I remember being qualified. What does that look like? What do we tell our youth? Because they don't have affirmative action and HBCUs are not always supported and taught about. My wife was in Trinidad. She said she knew nothing about HBCUs until she got to the US. Like, what does that mean?
Well, I'll talk about it because I have many opinions that I hope you all will, bounce your ideas off of. First of all, affirmative action, Black people were not the group that benefited.
Because it was white women, you said?
Exactly.
Who said it? White women.
Exactly. So I think we should dispel the myth that it was only because of affirmative action Michelle Obama would have gotten into Princeton. No, affirmative action came about because of systemic racism. Right. That no matter how qualified you were,
just right, because if white women benefited from it, it also had to do with gender bias.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you gender. What I'm saying is that what it did was level the playing field.
Yeah.
And it made universities look more critically at two people are equal, but I'm going to pick this person because this person is more like me than you are like me. Yeah. So I think there are a lot of myths around affirmative action.
Can we pause right there real quick, sure. Dr. Malone? But that to some degree, that's relatable, right? Like you do want to work with people and be around people that are like you. The problem is when you put power dynamics. Right.
Exactly. The problem is that it's biased.
So it's not necessarily, let me pause.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
It's bias. It's called affinity bias.
Yeah.
Again, Dr. Malone, Director of Talent and Equity. Director of Talent and Equity. Let's talk about it. It's called, exactly. It's called affinity bias. You are naturally drawn to people who have the same affinity as you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to talk about that in terms of HBCUs as well. But in terms of where I think the people get the debate around affirmative action wrong is that it wasn't giving extra points to otherized people. Right. It was saying, stop this affinity bias nonsense of I'm a white man, so I'm going to pick all white men, right? And, you could be as qualified as this white man, but because you are not like me, I'm not going to pick you. Right.
Which is why we also have legacy admissions, right?
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Exactly.
All right, let's go.
So I think there's some myths around it. I also am less concerned that it's gone. I'm playing the devil's advocate because I'm like, okay, because you know what? During affirmative action, the enrollment at HBCUs actually went up.
That's right, it did.
Because we were like, F you and your bias and your affirmative action you want to argue about. We have all these universities over here that we can access.
Because at HBCUs, you don't have to prove yourself.
You don't have to prove yourself.
Yeah, and we are still socialized to prove ourselves.
We are socialized to prove ourselves.
So some people are going to go to PWIs just to prove that they can be in a PWI.
Especially Ivy League.
And be great there.
Or be miserable there.
And I will argue this point, like Nikki said, all your life you had to fight at the HBC, at the PWI, but you also learn these navigational skills. Again, Director of Talent and Equity. So talent is my thing. What I find most is that many of our hires that come from HBCUs lack a certain navigational skill because the okay, I won't get too esoteric.
Do it.
But
We
we're not right.
Nerd with me.
The hegemony of our country is not of Blackness. It is centered in whiteness.
Okay.
So if you go to a PWI, you have to learn how to navigate that level of whiteness.
Which was the asset. That's the asset.
You don't learn that because you don't have to.
I mean, but how fair is that? Because we go to high schools that are not all Black, and we live in cities that are not all Black. Like
some of us,
exactly.
Some of us, and that's why I went to an HBCU, because I grew up in a military family in a Dod school in Germany. Yeah. So I did not have that center of Blackness growing up. Yeah. So I intentionally went to an HBCU so I could be around my people and see how my people navigated the world.
So you're saying a person like D would be fine because she knew how to navigate white
both.
spaces and Black.
She's had both.
Both and.
But you're saying that a person that grew up strictly in, like, I don't know,
Baltimore.
Right.
Thank you.
right.
Baltimore.
Inner city Baltimore,
right?
Right.
Right.
And that are surrounded by Black people and then go to an HBCU like Howard or Morgan or St. Aug. They don't know how to navigate.
You've not changed your pond.
You've not changed
But then that's not fair. You can't put that just on the HBCUs. You have to put that on where people.
It's society.
It's society.
Social, economic.
Right.
I hope I'm not coming across.
I think that there's different levels to it, though. I think growing up in the inner city.
But your inner city experience wasn't the same as many people's inner city experience.
I wasn't saying with me growing up in the inner city. Like, I know where. Because
if you want to crib walk right now, go ahead. Go ahead. You want to crib walk?
No, I'm not from the ghetto or whatever people want.
She's with the boat. She's with her boat.
Edit
friend.
that. I'm not from the ghetto.
Dr. Plummer.
Yeah, maybe edit that. Maybe edit that. But.
Exactly. This one with her boat friend.
Okay.
And she is legitimately could crip walk across this floor.
But what I'm saying is that even if you grew up in an inner city and you're Black and you're surrounded, you grew up surrounded by Black people. I think once you go to college, that's a different experience of Black people.
True.
You know, your professors and that. You know, of course they're gonna be other. No matter where you go, they're gonna be Black people that's gonna be inner city wherever they go, right?
Good. Yeah.
But
inner city.
I personally think, and this is kind of going back to the beginning of the conversation, just a thought that I had before we moved on.
Yeah.
I think it's important for young people to go to, if you're Black, to go to an HBCU. I think if you can benefit from being in some outside programs that gives you that experience.
Like internships.
And I think those are the things that need to be drilled in our heads or whatever, is that you need to get an internship. You need to see what else is outside of what you know. But I think you need to develop what you think you know about Black people and being Black by going to an HBCU.
I want to use Nikki's word. It's about balance.
I was gonna say balance.
And so I was no. Yeah, it is. It is. You asked. No. So you asked the question.
I don't care. I asked the question.
Hold on. Let me
go ahead. Target the seat.
You asked the question. What would you tell young people?
Okay, go.
Yes.
I have a 6-year-old son.
Yeah. Shout out to Nayan.
Shout out Nayan. I know what I want for him, but what I would tell him is it's about balance. What have you grown up doing? And you need a different experience. What I find most often in the world of talent, if we're talking about success and navigational skills, when you talk about cultural wealth and navigational skills, you have got to be able to have a balance in terms of understanding different ponds, as
the fact
Dee
that
says.
you are moving your hands
because
because
in my dissertation,
I agree with you. That was balance every time.
I'm gonna say the difference in that if you are getting educated in elementary school, middle school, high school, and you're around Black people, but your teachers are white, it's a whole different kind of situation there, right? Like, I feel like you should be educated by Black people in Black society doing Black things, and then you go out into the world and you do all the other things. So Nyan could go to whatever school that you put them in Baltimore or wherever you're gonna put them in the schools. And so
I don't know.
I think that Black people should be educated by Black people.
I don't
Even
necessarily
if it's only
agree.
4 years.
I don't necessarily agree.
It's 4 years. We're gonna live like 90-something years. 4 years.
But how many of those years are you learning? How many of the years, all those years, are people imparting wisdom on you? It is important to have both experiences.
Sure.
Because
but
when you
once
walk
you
out here
graduate,
and you're always in a Black environment,
right.
You put S's
It's
on
not
the damn
reality.
It's not always. It's 4 years. It's 4 years. You're educated by Black people in a Black environment, going to Black dining halls.
But I don't think she's saying
whatever for 4 years.
You've taken what you've learned all of those years.
But did you learn anything?
I don't think she's saying
something
something completely against what you're saying.
I was going to say.
Yes, you gotta have both. You gotta have both.
Now we're actually not saying something different.
You're not.
We're saying it's about balance.
When,
so
though?
It
doesn't
that's
matter
where
when.
I
If you get it
believe
in your
that's
youth,
where
you balance
the
it
advice
in your-
comes from.
I think
if I put Nyan in Montessori school where he is now, and his teachers are not Black, I don't care about the student demographic. I might suggest you might want to look at.
So we're agreeing on the same
Howard.
thing that
But-
a certain amount of years, you should be in Black environments, educated by Black people.
No, that's not.
No, that's what I'm saying. Don't touch me.
I'm gonna touch you. What I'm saying is, it's about balance. So if he was at the school I work in Baltimore City, surrounded by Black kids and Black teachers, I might say you might want to look at a different experience because you've had this same experience.
We're also
through
talking
your
about
youth.
it as if undergrad is the end point of our education.
But it is for many.
I don't
It is
think
for
the experience. I don't think
segue into your job.
It's your segue into your adulthood.
But I don't think that the college experience.
Before you get to that career world where nobody cares
We are
about
so
you.
Black people are
Exactly.
always so considered around the both that we never even consider 4 years of just pure
Black
men.
because I do not think
Go
that
ahead,
your
Jonai.
childhood
of a 90-something year life.
I don't think that your
But what do you
childhood
do?
is
What does it cost?
I know. Excuse me.
Sorry.
Jonai.
Okay, you. It's you.
It's
I do
Jonai.
not
It's
think
Jonai.
that your kid life amounts or compares to what you experience in college. And I do agree with you, LaNail, where I think that I would suggest my child going to an HBCU. I agree with you. It's only 4 years.
4 years.
Get that culture, because that's when you at that point you get that, and then you try to figure out what's next for me and how do I move now, right? So hopefully you'll go on to graduate school and do something else.
Go to a PWI if you want.
And go to a PWI if you want. But I think that experience is unlike anything else. I took my friend to homecoming who went to Maryland. She went to Maryland and had never been to homecoming. Like homecoming. Y'all don't have homecoming.
It's
We
different.
have homecoming.
It's not the same.
And-
Not the same.
And I'm talking about just like
Oh
in
my God.
all-
Side note, our homecoming schedule. Y'all remember putting together our calendar schedule in the group text? Like, so which homecoming is when?
Yeah.
Who we gonna go? Yes. Yes.
It's an experience,
It's an experience.
unlike any other.
Agreed.
And I think that our kids, especially in the blackness, the blackness that we have grown into, right? I think they need to experience that and see what it is that we're actually talking about.
Yeah.
Now, everybody doesn't have the luxury of having parents who have education and who care.
I love that you said that's a luxury.
You
a
know,
It is a
privilege.
luxury.
Yeah.
It's a
privilege. It's a
It
privilege.
is,
Yeah.
but for those of us, that do have parents that care and that are a part of your upbringing and that kind of thing, it's also their job to show you other things. Okay, you go to an HBCU or whatever, but now the parent is also partially, I think, still responsible for showing you the way. right?
But what if they don't know?
I mean, true, but that's also
what
an
if they don't
economic
know?
thing.
But
That's
wait,
also
wait, wait,
different.
wait.
I know, I know it's a
True,
luxury.
true.
People,
True,
everybody
luxury.
does
I
not
agree.
have it, but there are people that do have it whose parents throw you to the wind, and you make your decision and you keep it moving.
True,
but
true.
for the, I think it's super important for your village.
I gotta touch on that
to help you in that. But I totally agree with you that 4 years is a short amount of
4
time,
years.
and I think it is very important to your development as a person. Period. It's not just about. I mean, yes, we want you to have a great career and do all these things, and that will come. But these 4 years is about learning who you are and what you actually want.
I mean, in truth, when we think about 4 years, we've all been friends for at least 4 years. Like 4 years goes by so fast, but the way it brings into your like confidence and your competence and like the way you navigate and the way you show up in this 4 years is nothing. Now, at 42, I'm gonna live, God willing, another 42 years, right? 84 at the very least. 4 years is nothing. Like 4 years around Black.
It's absolutely nothing. But if your experience is only your Black community at that point in your life, you have got to, if it's an internship and you're going to HBC, you have got to experience the rest of the world, or else you go out unprepared.
But D, no Black
You go
person
out
in America,
unprepared.
nobody else in Black America lives life with white people and never been exposed to white people. We are exposed to white people from the very moment
we are, but we're not taught to how to navigate. We're not taught how to navigate those situations.
College is the only space to navigate
we
that.
only have the tools that we're taught in our community,
only
and they
space.
do some different shit. Back to my white girls, I'm gonna write a letter. That's not normal. We don't do that.
I do.
We're cussing your ass out.
I don't know. At Howard, we taught to write letters.
I write letters.
At Howard, we were taught to write letters.
in
We were
all
taught about
fairness-
middle management and all that kind of shit.
In all fairness,
stuff.
all
Advice
HBCUs are not equal.
Correct.
So don't
Correct.
sit over there with your big H on your chest.
Correct.
All HBCUs are not
They're
equal.
not.
All universities are not equal, right?
not tell me how to write letters.
Now, that's
However,
a different
comma.
conversation.
That is a different
Right.
conversation.
It is. It's a
you're
different
saying-
conversation.
But you're saying that all
You gotta
PWIs
have
are created equal?
exposure.
No,
No,
I'm
because-
saying. Thank you, Dean.
internal
Say that word
You
again.
gotta have the exposure, the internal
Exactly.
stuff that you go through emotionally. You are not prepared if
But
you
the
have not.
exposure isn't just at college.
Correct.
It's not.
But
Okay.
we're
If
talking
you
about
grew up in
college.
an urban environment and you go to an HBCU and you don't have any exposure to the other people, you are not prepared emotionally.
Then you better get a mentor.
I just don't
gotta
think.
do
Wait,
something.
you gotta do
you gotta do
something.
something. But I
That's
don't think
my
I don't
only
think that you should pass
argument.
up the
Gotta
Black
do something.
the HBCU experience, because I feel like you have so many more years to get that experience.
Because
But
just because
I
you went to
agree, you
HBCU,
have to
you
do
were
something.
Entered this world.
I agree.
Not having that experience.
Wait a
I
minute.
agree that
What
you
a-
have
what
to
about
do
the-
something.
The
but I don't
parent
think you should pass up.
responsibility, and you talked about it.
I
There's
want
a
to go back real quick,
responsibility there,
Nick.
too.
And just because you grew up in a Black environment for elementary, middle, high school, it's totally different at the undergraduate level. Like to be taught by Black people who are constantly researching and understand, like it's something different for your educators, for your teachers to be Black.
But from
and
your-
this
But
is
see,
short
but
amount of
I got
time.
that
So
at
even if we
home.
only do,
I got that
so
at
even
home,
if we
though.
expanded from 4 years to 18 years, and you're still living 84 years, 96 years, like that's such a short amount of time. Like you have the rest of your
But do I
fucking
wanna
life to
start
navigate
at
white
20?
people.
Two, and figuring out how to navigate
Don't put your
these
hand
other
up.
people.
I agree.
Do I want to start at 22,
We're both in
or do I
talent.
want to start them young?
Exactly.
I'ma cut Eddie.
And often I want you to be exposed.
All I'm asking, like I said at the beginning,
No surprise.
I didn't
there
ask at the
is
beginning.
like I said at the beginning, there's no right answer. Please do not take my argument as stating that there's
What's
a right
crazy
answer.
about this is
Fiery,
that y'all
I'm
went
a
to
little excited.
HBCUs.
That's my point.
But
My
wait,
point
wait,
is
hold
that
on,
there's
because
not a right
I'm gonna have to
answer.
have a Jonai moment. I have
It's-
something to say.
Okay,
Wait, you
but
gotta
hold on.
let-
But hold on.
Yeah.
But
Dr. Malone.
it's about
Malone.
balance. And what I would say to any young person,
Harmony.
what I would harmony.
Balance.
I'm gonna go with balance.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm gonna go
Balance
with
the
it's
harmony.
different.
I don't want to harmonize with the
I don't
people.
want to
I
harmonize.
just want to know what they're doing.
Exactly.
So I know how to,
I want to
wanna
know
negotiate.
the balance.
She hating on balance over there.
I'm not talking about years. You keep
I
talking
told you,
about
don't touch
85.
me.
I'm gonna touch you.
Don't touch me.
You mad?
touch
She
you.
mad over there.
Not not wrong. Our disadvantage now is that it takes us so long to learn the lessons that our parents didn't learn.
Exactly.
And so now we're fighting beyond. We don't have that legacy money because guess what? We got to learn that shit all on our own. Excuse me. We have to learn it on our own. Then we have to teach our people. If we learned it at 15, we have an advantage. Why wait till we're 22?
Your mic
I'm not saying.
Your mic is burning.
Why not wait till we're 22?
I'm not saying don't go to an HBCU because I love my HBCU.
So what I hear you guys
what I'm
saying
saying is get the
I think
experience.
ultimately, there needs to be some guidance. Period. Right.
Okay.
So if you don't have guidance, no matter where you go or what you
can't
do,
always be your parent.
It's a part of it. When y'all are done and I have a moment,
but if there is somebody telling you which way to go, right? Be that person through and through, right? Be that if somebody doesn't have a parent and you have an opinion and you are helping this child,
you gotta find them. Most people don't have mentors.
I understand that. I understand that. But
Lord, we done told D that we can't hear it. Now we hearing
but
her.
now, but now when you go, no matter what you do, no matter what school you go to, it's also about you, right? It's about it's about who you are and the opportunities that you take advantage of, right? Correct. The opportunities are going to be at the black schools and they're going to be at the white schools. And even if you are at a black school and you get an internship or something through a black school, you're going to be out in the world. The internship isn't necessarily doesn't mean you're going to be with black people all the time. It's about the student, the person also. Because you can go to school and just go to school and do nothing else.
Right.
So who cares what school you went to? Because you're not absorbing all that extra shit anyway. You're just doing your schoolwork.
At a certain point in our career, nobody cares about which school you went to anyway.
There
right?
you go.
Like,
That's
at some
true.
point,
I was going to bring that
I
up.
went to Howard.
As someone who reviews a lot of resumes.
And that
Go to
opportunity
your
recognition
HBCU and get your
starts
culture.
way before college. Way before college.
What'd you say, D?
That opportunity recognition starts way before college.
Opportunity recognition is different than navigating environments, though, right, Slim? Like,
but it's the first step, right? I gotta see it before I can navigate it.
Which is going back to confidence, though, right? And like when you go back to confidence, and black people, as young people, I'll talk about myself. In my 40s, there was like not a lot of who we had as a black Barbie. Christy, that was her name, right? Like Christy.
The Barbie, the actual Barbie.
There was not a lot of black representation in media, in our toys, and nothing. Right. And maybe Alyssa, my daughter, has a different advantage of like black identity because she grew up 20 something years after me, and it was in media, and I taught her and all these things. But like, I show up in spaces now and I take up space, and I know to take up space because Howard taught me to take up space. And we were in black experiences with other black students, and it was like true to life exercises. Like walk into this door and navigate that.
Y'all about to
can I
hit me
upset you for a
for
second?
what I'm about to say.
I don't want to be upset.
Can I, as someone who was your first boss?
No, I don't want to talk to you. You don't talk to me.
As someone who was her first
Let me
boss,
throw my ponytail.
I'm not going to put LaNail on Front Street.
You actually,
but was
you
there?
my name.
I was going to say
you actually are.
I hired you out of your graduate program at Howard, right?
I don't know where this is going.
Did you not have navigational issues?
I don't want to talk about
at the as yet unnamed place where we worked.
Why?
Yes or no?
Is this?
Yes or no?
And I was going to say,
yes
no, I'm
or
just
no?
kidding. It's
to
not
Ayana's
unsafe.
point.
No, well, let me answer the question. Yes, I did not navigate white spaces because white people weren't ready for my fucking black essence.
That's not
wait, Slim.
But that's not my point.
Whoa,
But if you
I don't care about
that's
the
not
point.
my
Your supervisor did what?
Was the
If
question
I
asked
wa-
of me?
If I was not your
The question was asked of me.
supervisor,
I didn't ask.
would that place we were have been a different experience?
You are not the ancestors. The ancestors guided me.
Did you not try to show up at that lady's house? That's all I'm saying.
Because I don't think you should ring up my past.
Oh my God.
She actually,
LaNail, you trying to play us to the left.
she actually owed me money.
She owes you money. But I said,
And that's what you learn from being black. That's your blackness.
taught you how to write. But you didn't try to write that lady a letter.
She actually,
You said, I'm going to come to your house Look at you. You said, I'm going to come to your house if you don't give me your money.
You asked me a question.
And I said, LaNail, don't go like this and go to the lady's house.
Okay, did you ask
Maybe
me a
you
question?
should gently request that she review your time card and assure you have your check by the end of the day.
Because I threatened to go to that lady's house. You also got paid, my nigga.
I'm
Ayana
just
was writing the letter
saying,
'cause she was
but
a
I was
Ayana-
the one.
But Ayana wanted her check too.
The PWI route.
But were we not
Don't why you keep
balanced?
touching me?
Because we're balanced. Were we not balanced?
Okay, true.
Where did we? You
Are you
taught
really
me.
counting?
No, you taught me how to be fiery and in my presence, and I taught you how to navigate.
True.
Balance.
True.
Yes.
True.
Seven.
No lie.
Go ahead.
Ayana, I was a youngin', right? I was
You were.
24.
Very yes.
24,
But it's
25.
4 years.
And you had it was 6
No.
years.
I did
You had
6
at
years.
Howard.
No, I don't take away from the fact that Howard embodied me to take up
They
space.
did.
Right.
They
I was
did.
like, you owe me.
Look at her hands. Look at her hands.
Oh.
No, my mom.
Oh, yeah. But look at her. No, I want y'all to see, what did LaNail do? Take up space. Tapping the table.
And what's wrong? And what's wrong with that though?
So listen, the thing is, are you asking me, am I Malcolm or am I Martin? Because I'm Malcolm all the way down. Malcolm X.
But
you
then
Martin.
balance.
You Martin.
But that's the balance.
The point that
both
I make,
of them
the point
got
that
That's
you're
the
making,
beauty
and you're
of
asking
balance.
me, is that it balanced because we came into each other's presence. Who would I be years later if I actually showed up at that lady's house? I don't know. I might have been in jail. I don't know.
We don't
right?
know.
But-
And we don't have
Is
to
But
know.
I
going
don't
backwards.
but I
You
don't
gotta
think-
get in the door first.
This
before
country
you can
is
take
going
up space.
backwards.
No.
We're
Get in
the
going
door
backwards.
and
That
take up
doesn't
your
have
space.
anything. I don't
I
think
was
that has,
already in the door.
I think that has to
It was
do
a-
with
it was a
maturity.
payroll issue. I was
Period.
already in the door.
I think that has to do with maturity. I don't think that has to do with where you went to school or whatever.
And you
I
gotta think about the fact that I was.
Because they give you the tools to fight your battles, whether
Or
it's
they don't give you the tools. They
No,
make
nobody
you.
gives you no
They
tools. Nobody
made me
is-
develop the tools.
No,
and
they
my
make
sister,
you develop the tools
my
because
sister
you don't
who
have
went
a
to an
choice.
Ivy
Y'all
League
drunk.
school
My parents made
managed
me develop
that
the
for
tools.
me even more. She finessed that even more.
But neither is that. That's not everybody's story either. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
So again, the balance. If
No.
you didn't get it in
11.
home, if you didn't get it in high school, you need to go get it in college before you go
But
out
wait a
into
minute.
this world.
Experience. I
I
still
disagree,
believe,
y'all.
But you
I
have to
still-
be
I
able
still
to
believe-
assess your experience.
I still believe you go to
You
college.
have to
you go.
assess your experience.
Ultimately, I think you should go to the school that has a program that you want. That's ultimately what I
don't know,
think.
Jay, the
But
experience that you want.
I think the program and the experience. Hopefully, you can get them both, right?
yeah.
hopefully
But
we can.
I would say I would push HBCU again. You as a few years of your development.
4.
Absolutely, 4 years of your development. No matter what, you're gonna continue growing and learning. You're gonna F up so many more times before you get it right. And I think to have that culture of a black HBCU, I think it is very important. I think it is a must if you can
Nobody
go there.
ever questions my confidence.
And
Nobody
and
ever
you
questions up when I
continue to
show up in
learn,
the
and
space.
you continue to learn.
Yes,
So what
I am
happened
learning
that-
lessons
if
along
that was
the
your
way.
first job or whatever,
Yeah.
and that happened or whatever. Okay, and that's when you learned.
But I'ma show
somebody
up.
somebody balanced you out.
But you're
and
continuing
cool.
to learn. I'm urban. I come from an urban environment. This is what I know.
Only partially though, homie.
I'm just saying, persona. Somebody, not me, not you. Somebody, because we know our stories. I'm an urban person. I'm from Baltimore. I've only known Baltimore. I enter college. I go to St. Aug for we recruit heavily
Not
here.
as you say, grazie.
Listen. I go to St. Aug. We are not, we do what we do down there in the Carolinas. And that is the only experience I have. I get out of school, I get a job.
Yeah.
What? I don't have the tools.
But are we talking about operating from a place of fear?
I'm not
Right,
saying
like-
that.
No,
What I'm
no,
saying is that you
no.
gotta
Okay, well, tell me how
have
y'all
different
not.
experiences, whether that's the HBCU integrating you into the culture, the majority culture and how they run business. Because when you go into work and they're discriminating you because you went natural, happened to me, and you don't know how to handle
Crown
it.
Act by Delta.
I don't care what the act says. The people at work are laughing at me and they won't invite me to meetings. How do I handle it?
Exactly.
Okay, and so you're saying that being at HBCU makes it where you can't handle it?
I'm not saying
And that being
that.
at PWI makes you able to handle it?
I don't even expect it if I'm surrounded by
we
my
are
people all
saying
the time.
it's
You need
about
both.
the assessment.
You need to be able to see these people don't like me because I cut all my hair off and it is closer to my African roots and they don't like it.
So what you gonna do differently?
I'm gonna sit back
Because you went to a PWI.
Because you went to a PWI,
I'm gonna
right.
identify the reason why they don't like me.
And you still gonna be
I said
mad.
both.
And you gonna be mad.
And I might be
Exactly.
mad. But when I go in there, I'm not gonna cuss the lady out and get fired.
You
and
probably
bring
will. You
up.
probably
But
still
HBCU
would.
ain't gonna
I
teach
think
you
you
to
still
cuss them
would.
out anyway.
I think you still would. If that's how you feel, it's about who you are too.
But
No,
I
I don't agree.
I have the expectation that it's even a thing. Sometimes when we are in,
You're saying that being at an
HBCU I don't know if it's
HBCU
right.
makes you
When we're
oblivious
all-
that it's a thing.
Correct. We don't even expect that shit is
But
coming.
I feel like
You know
at
how
an
when people in
HBCU,
car
they do teach
accidents,
you that. They do teach you that
it's
they
the
don't want
person that
us.
is sober who gets hurt the most because they don't even see that shit coming. The person is drunk. No, they know it's coming. They drunk. They get hit. Their body starts to
Right.
respond to
Immediately
what is coming.
tenses because they know it's
So you're
happening.
saying that
person
an
that's drunk.
HBCU doesn't prepare you for the real world.
No,
not
that's not what
saying
she
that. I'm
said.
saying you
That's not what she
gotta
said.
have it.
Nope.
No matter where it comes from, you need
That's
both.
not
If
what
it's
she
an
said. You
internship and
need
you're in an
saying it's
HBCU,
4 years.
if it's going to a PWI, whatever you need to do based off of what your lived experience is, you need to do it. And if that's not going to a HBCU, I'm not mad at you. But you know,
So I
If you
think
graduate
that
school at 22,
so
by
I think-
26, you're gonna know how these white
So
people
I think either
interact
way,
with you.
like I
Not-
agree with the
you
balance
won't.
part of
I
it.
agree.
I agree with the balance part of it. Either way, you need the other experience, right? So even if
That's
We're
if
the
you
what we're
only fucking
arguing.
ones that think about the other experience. White people don't think about the other
Because
experience
we have
at
to.
all.
right,
Because we
but I know. So since we
Okay.
have to, if you're
And we're
if you're
going
at-
backwards in
privilege
this
right
country.
here. We live in a world where we, people of black identity,
I'm glad, yeah.
we win. We,
was about
we
to say
are,
something.
Yeah.
We are working. We are working in our community. We are doing all the things through our community connections. Everybody doesn't live like that. Some people got to go into the government. Some people got to go into the regular ass workforce where they don't give a shit about your black ass. And we got to know that walking in, or else
And
we
I-
become a victim.
But I think you
If
learn
you
that at
don't know.
HBCUs too. I think HBCUs do teach you that. I think they,
So-
I
so-
absolutely think
but
they
this-
teach you
but-
that. But I also don't want you going to a PWI thinking that things are just about that. All you're doing is fighting all the
That's your
time
whole
and
essence.
trying.
It's about
Yeah, you
competition
because
of white
if you go to a
people.
PWI and you spend those 4 years there, you still need to learn about your blackness
I'm
at
gonna
that
stand
point.
up
At that
in a
point in
second.
your life, because
need to
you
cut
didn't.
it?
Whatever you learn in college, you do not know as a child. I don't care where you came from. The experience is different. It's different through and through. So whatever you learn as a black kid is going to be different than a black matriculating adult, regardless of where you go.
I know this corner. I know D.
hold on.
D.
Let me
I know this. I know this corner. We've been hot right here.
Yeah,
We've been hot
yeah.
right
Not
here.
to be quiet.
But we haven't given space for Jonai and Nikki to talk. And Nikki, I think we're gonna end in a few minutes too. Yeah,
We are, yeah.
All
No,
right.
I just want to say it because I'm listening.
out to the homecoming
I'm
season.
normally not that good at it, but 'cause
Look,
normally this is reversed.
You want to shake it
too.
at the
These two are normally
HBCU.
quiet, so I'm like, okay, they've been talking, so I'm just been
Girl,
listening.
you
but
right in the middle of fire.
I'm like, wow.
Okay, you got an Aries
Right,
and
I'm
a
like-
Leo on the side of you. You okay, baby?
balanced,
You
15.
okay?
It's
Oh.
balanced.
I'm over here
Balanced.
fighting with you though. I'm
Thank
fighting
you.
with you today.
Oh, and Nikki's really been counting the word
But I want to
balance.
say this because there were a few points that were made, and so one, going to an all-white private school for elementary and middle.
Okay.
And so my parents, especially my father, was adamant about making sure I understood black culture, right? Because at that point I'm in a white environment, but you need to understand you were black, you need to be around black culture.
And you
right?
always talk about your daddy,
So-
but both of your parents are
Both
black.
of my parents did, but my father took because
But
of his
both of your parents
upbringing.
are black.
Both of my parents are black. Yes, my
Yes.
father took a more active role in that area of responsibility. So then, but let me add this too. Let me add this too.
Where is these
the water
water?
to simmer
Where
down?
is
We
these
need some
water?
water.
This Aries is on
this
fire.
This is the one thing I want to say. So what I'm hearing is What happens at the PWI, so I do believe, as you all are saying, the HBCU does teach you about how to navigate these things that can happen when you go out into the world, right? However, at a PWI, it is more likely. It's one thing to be taught about how to deal with something versus having to deal with it. So so it's not, I don't disagree I don't
go deeper right there. It's something to be
taught how to deal something.
Meaning that you're the student.
Versus you are experiencing it. So that to me, that is the only difference.
So what is happening?
And you don't learn that.
Deana Kennedy.
No, what I'm saying
Bring
is it's
it
the
down
difference.
for a second.
But listen, it's the difference between learning about something and actually having to live through something. So I don't discount that anywhere in the world, even whether it's HBCU, PWI, your parents.
So what I hear you saying is that at HBCUs, you might be taught how to live through it, but only if you're at a PWI or in real life do you actually live.
I don't want to say only, but it's more likely.
Okay.
Let me say that.
Okay.
It's more, I don't want to say only because that's
I think that's an important distinction, right?
It's more
I love that
likely.
you said that. So learning versus experiencing.
That to me,
and
is
we're
the
all going to
difference.
experience it because we live in the United States.
You are.
All right, wait, JJ, we got to let her
life.
finish, babe.
Oh, I thought you were finished.
No, her mouth was still to the mic.
But you live that you live that for the rest of your life. When do you get a chance to go back and have that HBCU experience?
I'm not arguing against that. I'm just saying I'm only talking about that one example of learning about it, of navigation versus actually having to navigate. It was a real-time experience. So I'm not saying you shouldn't do HBCU for 4 years. I'm only talking about that one thing.
Let me ask
That's
you this.
The difference.
Baby J.
You had to blink your eye and say it. So you okay. So was that a switch?
Baby J, do you want her to go to a PWI or HBCU? Don't give me some ambiguous answer about
I want her to go to an HBCU.
Okay.
I absolutely want her to go to an HBCU because
pause. Nyan.
I want Nyan to go wherever he wants to go because
I want to hear that.
Stop. Because Nyan is privileged enough to have a mother who can fill in the gaps depending on what he choes. Okay. Because I've experienced both.
Can you keep your neck straight when you talk to me?
Exactly. But like these ladies were saying, it is a privilege. I'm not going to look at Nyan the same way. It's a
privilege for a black child to have an educated black mother, though.
Yes,
that's horrible.
But it's horrible, but it's true.
But we're at the precipice.
The person too, though.
But I was going to say, it's also about
the child. Because although I consider myself to have grown up privileged with educated parents and whatever. I still didn't take advantage of all the opportunities that I had. I didn't take advantage of the opportunities that my parents were giving me. So I did not use what I had. I did not take advantage of everything that I had or could have had. And so you just keep learning as you keep getting older, regardless of where you come from. It's ultimately, I think, about the person and what you want. And what you care about in the moment.
That's why I chose that priority.
Isn't it so proper? Like, you been, go ahead, homie.
Right.
Go ahead, homie.
It's the fire.
We know it's the fire.
Right.
We gonna run out of time.
But although you didn't take advantage,
y'all, she's serious. Look how she leaned
I know
to the
because
side.
she tilted.
I'm scared. She leaned to the side, y'all.
there's a difference. We're privileged. Like sometimes it's life threatening when you don't take advantage, and sometimes I just missed an opportunity. For you, you just missed an opportunity.
No, those are two different things, homie. An advantage and an opportunity are two different things.
Okay, I missed an advantage. I'm sorry, correct me. But for some kids, when they don't take advantage or have a different experience, they will die in the streets. True. They don't know
because they don't know. They don't know what they don't know.
But to that point though, if you going to school, period, you gonna figure some shit out. No matter. I think you do.
The kids that went to St. Aug were straight off of DC streets. They was out with the Raleigh kids. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah,
they got caught up with drugs. They got caught up with the bullshit because they did not know any better. St. Aug is a teeny weeny black school. I love my babies. I love St. Aug. Rep it all, but it's not Howard. And we took children from DC and Baltimore.
Speak on that.
And
Morgan.
if we don't teach them how to navigate the world, we are dying.
So what we're talking about, so then we're talking about again, I got you, babe. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I believe the children are our
We are not.
Teach them well.
What I love about
them
We're in a
lead
different
the
place than
way.
these children.
We are.
We have privileges that they can't even conceive.
I agree.
We have privileges that we scoff at because we can. Some of these kids.
We all sitting on this couch
that's the
with
best thing they got
multiple
going for them.
degrees, y'all.
They need to be in the right place at the right time, listening to the right person. If not, their whole fucking life is ruined.
Exactly. We are sitting here with a minimum of 1 degree apiece. We are all sitting here with multiple degrees. Y'all all work in the government. You're a business owner. It is not, it is hard to generalize based on our own perspective.
Can we identify that maybe this is...
I said sure. I said sure.
Who has the tip of the day?
No.
Who has the tip of the day this month?
You.
Oh, shit.
Wait.
Don't say nothing nasty.
I don't want the tip. Normally I like the tip. That's for you.
That's gross. Normally
If
she likes
the camera's
tip.
on me, I actually don't know these people. So what I hear that we're talking about is PWIs, HBCUs, and then you guys started to intersect socioeconomic status and privilege and who your parents are and all of these things, right? We came in talking about PWIs, HBCUs, and it wasn't limited to that. We were talking about your college experience.
We went down a whole different route.
I had a whole question.
I was going to say,
like,
this was a whole different
college
route.
versus who you are right now and all the things. But that's not what this came into. And that's the beauty of being a part of Grown Ass Women, right? Like these are our real life conversations where we're like constantly talking and doing the things. So we had a tip of the day.
Make it quick.
But we had many tips
Can
of
I
days.
say one thing real quick?
We got 1 minute.
Just 30 seconds, 10 seconds. What I take from this is that we all need to go grab a kid and be mentors if you are not already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I think that was 10 seconds.
Be a mentor. That's all I got.
That's the tip of the day.
Wrap it up.
All right,
I got
Tip of the day.
Tip of the day. I'll make it really quick, and it's not going to be.
I don't know
It's not
these
going to be
people.
sexual. Tip of the day: if you are considering college or have a child that's going to college, choose the college that is best for what they need in their future
child.
for your child. That is my
what
tip
they
of the day.
need
I
and what they
agree.
say that they need. Because even
Right.
though they're 18 and we consider them adult, they don't always know, right? So consider yourself, consider them, consider what's missing, consider what's there, and all the things. We, as grown-ass women, aren't saying HBCUs are PWIs.
Right.
You choose for yourself because that's part of what being a grown-ass woman is, right? Like making these life choices. So, wrapping it up real quick with a whole bunch of fire.
I pledge allegiance.
Y'all said y'all ain't hear from Deana, Diane Kennedy. Y'all heard from
Exactly.
Deana,
Y'all
Diane
heard her
Kennedy.
today.
Coach,
You heard
Welcome
that she had a word
to the grown ass
today.
women.
She had
And
crossed
shout
the entire
out.
time.
I had to lean over a couple times, like,
Because you got burnt, baby.
Oh, I got
You
burnt.
got burnt. Shout out to the Virgos. Shout out to the Libras. Thank you for being with us. This is the end of season 2, and I appreciate you so much. We may or may not take a hiatus, but if we do, please continue to subscribe on YouTube, on all of the podcast platforms and all the things. Follow us on our private pages, on our group pages, Onyx Therapy Group, Sunkiss J, Nikki
And Wood.
N. Wood.
I'ma change
We
it
have
to do
Kennedy
Blaze
Dean.
Voice,
We have Clever Girl.
Clever girl.
And we, of course, have Mahogany Sunshine. And again,
And Pledge
Onyx Therapy
Allegiance
Group.
to
Continue
the
to
flag.
follow us. Tell your friends. Have the conversations. Do the things. We love you. Bye. End of season 2.